Something extraordinary happened with Stuart Broad, and for years it was misunderstood as coincidence, emotion, or momentary brilliance. But the truth runs far deeper. Again and again, at the most critical moments in cricket history, Broad produced spells that did not just change matches, they rewrote narratives. When pressure peaked, when momentum leaned against England, and when opposition confidence surged, Broad appeared and altered the course of events within minutes. This is not simply the story of wickets taken. It is the story of timing, instinct, and an uncanny ability to sense when history was vulnerable. Broad did not rely on constant dominance. He relied on decisive intervention. One over, one session, one spell, entire series shifted, records collapsed, opponents froze. What you are about to hear explains how Stuart Broad became a bowler whose spells carried historical weight, why his impact extended beyond statistics, and how certain moments ensured his legacy would never be ordinary. To understand Stuart Broad's place in cricket history, it is essential to look beyond traditional measures of consistency or averages. Broad's career unfolded during an era of intense competition, evolving formats, and relentless scrutiny. From early on, he was recognized as a fast bowler with height, bounce, and athleticism. Yet his defining quality would not be endurance alone, but intervention at precisely the right moments. Broad developed into a bowler who thrived on context. He understood when pressure mattered more than patience and when aggression could collapse entire batting orders. His preparation reflected this awareness. He studied batsmen closely, adjusted angles intelligently, and relied on subtle changes rather than raw pace. This allowed him to produce sudden, devastating spells that changed the emotional balance of matches. As his career progressed, Broad became synonymous with momentum shifts. Captains trusted him when nothing else worked. Teammates sensed opportunity when he found rhythm. Opponents feared the brief windows where everything unraveled. Broad's ability to strike repeatedly within short bursts became his defining trait. Importantly, Broad embraced responsibility. He did not shy away from hostile environments or decisive moments. Instead, he leaned into them, using crowd energy, tension, and urgency as fuel. His mindset transformed pressure into opportunity. This combination of intelligence, adaptability, and emotional control positioned Broad uniquely. He was not merely collecting wickets across long spells. He was engineering collapses, delivering moments that echoed far beyond the scorecard and etched themselves permanently into cricket history. Stuart Broad's unusual behavior did not announce itself loudly at first. It appeared in patterns, moments, and reactions that slowly separated him from other fast bowlers. While many bowlers focused on long spells and gradual pressure, Broad seemed to operate differently. He was not always searching for rhythm over time. Instead, he searched for moments. When he sensed vulnerability, his intensity sharpened, his accuracy tightened, and his presence became unmistakable. This behavior puzzled observers. Broad could appear quiet for extended periods, almost contained, before suddenly producing a burst of bowling that dismantled an entire batting lineup. His energy levels shifted dramatically when opportunity arose. He bowled with heightened aggression, sharper movement, and absolute belief that something was about to happen. These spells were not accidents. They were responses to cues only he seemed to recognize. Teammates began to notice how Broad reacted to changes in atmosphere. A dropped catch, a nervous batsman, a slight error in footwork. These details triggered his focus. He adjusted his angle, altered his length marginally, and attacked relentlessly. Unlike bowlers who relied purely on pace, Broad used intelligence and timing to amplify pressure. Opponents struggled to understand this pattern. They prepared for sustained challenges, but were undone by sudden collapses. Broad's unusual approach created instability. Batsmen never knew when the danger would peak because it did not follow predictable rhythms. This behavior marked the beginning of his reputation as a disruptor of momentum. Broad did not need extended dominance. He needed alignment between opportunity and intent. Once that alignment appeared, history often followed. His unusual ability to recognize and exploit these moments laid the foundation for the spells that would later define his career. As Stuart Broad continued to produce sudden, match-altering spells, confusion spread among analysts, opponents, and commentators. The pattern did not align with traditional fast bowling logic. Broad could bowl quietly for extended periods, then suddenly dismantle an entire batting order in a matter of overs. Many tried to label this as inconsistency, but that explanation never fully held. Opposition teams searched for technical weaknesses. They examined his run-up, release point, and variations, believing such explosive success must be exploitable. Some assumed his impact depended on specific conditions or emotional surges. Others believed patience would eventually blunt his effectiveness, yet these assumptions repeatedly failed. Broad delivered the same destructive spells across formats, conditions, and opponents. Attention then shifted to his mindset. Observers noticed that Broad rarely bowled without purpose. He did not chase wickets recklessly. Instead, he waited. He watched batsmen closely, identifying hesitation, discomfort, or lapses in concentration. When those signs appeared, his approach changed instantly. His accuracy sharpened, his aggression intensified, and pressure multiplied rapidly. Teammates recognized that Broad understood match context better than most. He knew when restraint was required and when escalation could break resistance. His communication was minimal but effective, reinforcing clarity rather than chaos. These qualities made his spells feel inevitable rather than accidental. Eventually, it became clear that nothing was wrong at all. The issue was misinterpretation. Broad was not inconsistent, he was selective. He operated on timing, awareness, and opportunity. Once that was understood, his sudden dominance no longer seemed mysterious. It became a defining feature of his greatness. At the core of Stuart Broad's most devastating performances was a clear fixation on decisive moments. He was not focused on bowling endlessly or building pressure slowly. Instead, he concentrated on identifying exact points in a match where resistance could break. This mindset shaped his most memorable spells and created the tension that surrounded his presence at the crease. Broad paid close attention to subtle signals, a new batsman settling in, a brief lapse in concentration, or a slight change in momentum immediately sharpened his focus. When these moments appeared, his bowling intensity increased. His line tightened, his length became unforgiving, and his aggression turned purposeful. These phases often felt uncomfortable for batsmen, even before wickets fell, because the pressure arrived suddenly and without relief. Opposition players sensed this danger. Surviving Broad was not only about technique, but about enduring periods where every delivery felt threatening. Captains struggled to respond. Attacking him risked collapse, while defending only extended pressure. This uncertainty created mistakes, which Broad exploited ruthlessly. This fixation carried criticism. When wickets did not come instantly, questions followed about persistence and control. Yet Broad trusted his instincts. He understood that disruption mattered more than gradual accumulation. Once momentum shifted, collapses often followed quickly. This problem point defined Broad's impact. His ability to recognize and attack fragile moments transformed spells into turning points. He did not simply remove batsmen, he dismantled belief. That obsession with decisive timing is what made his spells unforgettable and historically damaging. The first unmistakable clue to Stuart Broad's true historical impact emerged when his spells began repeating the same pattern across different eras, opponents, and conditions. These moments were not isolated surprises anymore. They formed a recognizable signature. Whenever England needed a sudden shift, Broad delivered it with ruthless efficiency. What once felt extraordinary started to feel inevitable. The clue became clear in how quickly matches changed once Broad found found rhythm. Sessions that appeared stable collapsed within minutes. Well-set batsmen disappeared in clusters. Scoreboards shifted dramatically without warning. These were not slow deteriorations. They were sharp breaks in momentum that stunned opponents and spectators alike. Observers began to notice how Broad sensed vulnerability before it became obvious. A batsman's hesitation, a crowd's silence, or a slight dip in resistance triggered his attack. His accuracy increased, his aggression sharpened, and pressure multiplied instantly. These spells carried a psychological weight that extended beyond wickets. Entire batting units lost confidence. Teammates also recognized the pattern. When Broad sensed opportunity, belief spread through the fielding side. Energy lifted. England expected collapse rather than hoping for it. That expectation itself became a weapon. This was the first real clue. Stuart Broad was not just a bowler taking wickets. He was a momentum breaker. His spells followed a logic rooted in timing, awareness, and pressure. Once that pattern was understood, his greatest moments stopped looking accidental. They revealed a bowler who knew exactly when history was ready to crack. The real meaning of Stuart Broad's greatness became clear when his most famous spells were viewed as part of a pattern rather than isolated explosions. What seemed like sudden brilliance was actually the result of awareness, timing, and deliberate intent. Broad was not reacting emotionally to moments. He was waiting for them. The big reveal was realizing that his dominance followed a repeatable logic. Broad understood that matches are rarely decided gradually. They break in short, fragile phases where confidence slips and pressure overwhelms control. His bowling was designed to attack those exact moments. When a batting side hesitated, Broad intensified his accuracy and aggression, turning minor uncertainty into complete collapse. Entire sessions changed direction because he knew when to strike. This understanding reframed his career. Broad was not simply collecting wickets across long spells. He was engineering turning points. His value laid in disruption rather than accumulation. Opponents feared not just losing wickets, but losing momentum entirely once Broad sensed weakness. The big reveal, ultimately, is that Stuart Broad mastered decisive impact. His spells were not just successful, they were final. When Broad found his moment, resistance rarely survived. That ability to break matches open is what ensured his place in cricket history. Stuart Broad's career teaches a simple but powerful lesson. Moments, not duration, define impact. Success comes from awareness, timing, and decisive action. By mastering pressure and seizing key opportunities, Broad changed matches, series, and perceptions of fast bowling. His legacy proves that brilliance is not constant. It is concentrated, deliberate, and unstoppable when applied at the right moment. Understanding when to strike is the ultimate skill.